Hello everyone, and welcome to this really special interview with the author and best-selling screenwriter Rhidian Brook. Rhidian is the author of the international bestseller The Aftermath. The novel has been adapted for film and stars Kiera Knightley and Alexander Skarsgard. Rhidian's fourth novel, The Killing of Butterfly Joe, was published in 2018. Thank you so much for giving us your time, Rhidian. It's a pleasure to be here.
That's okay. Welcome.
Firstly, could you tell us a little bit more about yourself and your career?
Well, I've been a professional writer for 20 plus years. I started my professional life as a copywriter in advertising. I didn't set out to be a writer. Then a couple of things happened. I got sick with a serious kind of chronic viral condition, which completely took me out of work for a couple of years. And during that experience, I came to faith, and that's when I started to write. For me, faith was quite dramatic. You know, it was some people come to faith quite peacefully and without much hoo-ha.
Yeah.
Mine was definitely more Damascene, I guess. My life was noticeably different when I came to faith to those who knew me. Before and after, as it were.
And would you say that your faith has a big effect on your attitude to your work, to your career?
Yeah, I find it quite hard to separate them really. Yeah. Definitely influences the way I see the world. And I guess if you looked at everything that I've written, I'm looking to ask the big questions, not to be afraid of discussing meaning or a lack of meaning. So The Aftermath, its themes are about forgiveness and justice. So
maybe you could give us just a brief synopsis of the novel?
I was gifted the story of The Aftermath. It was based on my grandfather, my father's father, who was a governor of Hamburg just after the war. Part of the motivation for the book was an honouring of people like my grandfather who went to Germany and did an incredible job rebuilding a country that was a former enemy, a country that had bombed us. So my grandfather requisitioned a house, and he did a very unusual thing, which is really the premise of my story, which is he didn't throw the owners out. He let them stay in the house, and they shared the house for 5 years. And this is only just 1 year after World War II.
Yeah, amazing.
So an unusual scenario. I thought that's interesting, how do you deal with your feelings about the former enemy and that need to balance forgiveness and justice, and how do you reconcile these things?
Lewis, one of our protagonists, says that forgiveness is the greatest weapon in the armoury of the British. So why for you was forgiveness such a kind of a prominent and important theme?
Well, in the book, forgiveness operates, I guess you could say, at two levels. There's the micro level, which is the personal. Everyone in the story has lost something. So then there's a sort of, I guess you could call more collective, the macro scale of countries needing to forgive countries and peoples needing to forgive peoples. And I was interested to see how those two things operated in the story. So forgiveness is key, but forgiveness is not straightforward. And so it was interesting. It was good to be able to tell a story where that was complex and difficult and not sort of easy and not pat. And of course, not everyone does forgive in the story. Some do and some don't.
Would you say that any of the characters are Christian? Is this a Christian book?
I tend to shy away from that category, actually.
Yeah.
No one is overtly Christian in that book. There is allusion to it. I guess at a bigger macro level, you're dealing with people's need to reconcile. And that is a fundamentally Christian concept for me. You can't move forward without some form of reconciliation. In everything that I've written, I've not consciously set out to write a Christian book. Yeah. I've just happened to describe worlds where there is faith, because there is faith in the world. It just doesn't always get written about.
And I noticed in the acknowledgements at the end of the book that you thank the author of all things.
I thank God, because writing requires a lot of help and inspiration and faith. Writing is a scary thing, actually. You're starting with a blank page, so it requires a lot of hope in things unseen, as it were. And so yes, it's very easy to, it was very easy to thank God.
So thank you very much for a really wonderful interview, Rhidian.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for tuning in to watch, and be sure to check out The Aftermath in cinemas from 1st of March. Thanks very much.
Thank you.